Alright everyone, we start off today talking about the effective launch the other day of Donald Trump's 24 campaign. It's everything but official at this point. Link in the description, not archived because it's RCP. It's just to a video actually that Donald Trump posted on Truth Social the other day, hours after the FBI dubiously legally raided the Mar-a-Lago under circumstances that in just 24 hours have gone from a bit on the weird side to outright goddamn fishy, and everybody knows it, to the point where you've got fucking Andrew Cuomo demanding that the warrant be unsealed. You've got Andrew Yang weighing in basically along similar lines. I'm seeing a significant number actually of even liberal individuals who are at least somewhat uncomfortable with what's going on. Even Mike Pence weighed in and said, well, I'm not so sure that this is helpful. He half-assed it to be true. He knows that he's not going to be re-entering presidential politics. I think he's trying to straddle that line because he wants to have some sort of consulting career, as many former VPs tend to have. I would like to make a little pitch to people, though, and that's Donald Trump 2024. If before I leaned towards supporting him if he ran, heavily leaned, of course, I think that he did a good job when he was the president. There was no insurrection. Many of the things that didn't go right during the administration had nothing to do with him not trying. It had to do with obstruction, really, by House Republicans, oddly, more than anything else. We did get an expansion of border protections. They've been debased now under Joe Biden, who, at the 11th hour, decided to restore some of them. You'll notice that. We got overhaul on taxes. We got all sorts of goodies when Trump was president. We certainly didn't have a Ukraine crisis because the Russians actually held off doing what they wanted to do because they understood there was somebody competent in executive leadership. Taiwan was not being surrounded by Chinese war games. North Korea was not rambling about building more nukes. Donald Trump becoming the first president actually to cross the DMZ in the wake of the Korean War all the way back in the 1950s. I think that he did a good job. Was he perfect? No. Was he God Emperor? No. Did he do what I would even consider a great job? No. But he did a good job, and we haven't seen that in a while. Certainly within my lifespan, there has not been another president who did as well as Donald Trump. I will vote for him in 2024 if he's the Republican nominee. If he runs, I would vote for him in the primary, although I suspect, again, that if he runs, there won't be a lot of competition and half the states will just shelve their primaries. I would like to see what Donald Trump, uninhibited by having to worry about polling and re-election in a second term, would do. And if Biden runs again, it would be a clear knockout. I don't think there's any way Trump could even lose. I do still see some blackpilling, but I would also like to submit that I'm seeing a breath of fresh air moment among individuals that are on, if not necessarily Republicans, because I know that I'm not, people who are right now they recognize the Democratic Party's all messed up, so they lean towards supporting, in general, more Republican candidates. I like the MAGA candidates generally, and again, not all their views. When they do Jesus, it's not something that appeals to me, and I wish they would do that less, but they do have religious constituents. As opposed to the Democrats or the neocons, it's far better. I think that Donald Trump is gaining a significant amount of support in the last 24 hours. Any Trump-DeSantis feud appears to have disappeared. Doing his emergency EO to force state agencies not to cooperate with the feds is pretty ballsy. DeSantis, by the way, requires some credit for having done so. Even if it's partially symbolic, cooperation can be compelled by the federal government. It's a step in the right direction. You see numerous Republicans finally wising up to the need to abolish the FBI, which was never meant to be permanent, etc., etc., etc. I'll be doing a little bit on that as well later. Don't just abolish the FBI, get rid of the whole alphabet soup bureaucracy. Most of these agencies don't even hold any significant function. It's like the Democrats will ramble about how evil it is that Trump is optioning the concept of getting rid of the Department of Education. See, he hates education. No, our educational rate was great when the states were controlling it, before the DOA did anything significant. We had a world-class educational system back when we focused on actually educating people instead of becoming a taxpayer-funded fucking daycare. That's the whole problem. I think that Trump should run. I think that Trump, if anyone tries to stop him from being nominee, they're crazy and it probably doesn't work. I do not expect him to be in a jail cell, pooping his pants, rolling around, big fat baby, diapers, all this hyperbolic shit that we see from the Democrats. Even if he's charged, I'll vote for him. Hell, if he is in a jail cell, I'll vote Donald Trump anyway. The Republicans would be nuts not to defend him, by the way. Clearly he did nothing wrong. He's been investigated in and out for a fucking half decade. What more do you want? What more evidence do we want that Donald Trump actually is what he says that he is, and he actually is attempting to repulse elements of the WEF sort of deep state thing? He's constantly censored, under the most spurious of circumstances. Even liberals know this. There was no insurrection on January 6th. Doesn't exist. The coup is right now. What you're seeing right now with the Mar-a-Lago raid and other things going on, the IRS being expanded explicitly to attack political dissidents, this is the coup. This is the insurrection. It's not what a fiery but mostly peaceful protest in which the only person killed was a protester isn't exactly an overthrow of the U.S. government. And the government is colluding with corporations and banks and other groups to grind down people that are critical of them. And that's because MAGA unleashed a hellstorm of people who no longer, trying to control them with the id poll thing by simply saying that their views were extreme, and so they would generally shut up because, oh my God, I'll lose my job if I'm labeled an extremist, so I better not have this opinion in public. That stopped working. And that's really how they tried to muzzle people before. Now that that's no longer working, they're going directly to legal intimidation. Well, they need to be punished for it. You should stay in the streets, as Maxine Waters said. Protests are supposed to make people feel uncomfortable, I suppose. And that's what will happen if they continue abusing the legal system in this sense. I keep hearing from MSNBC that there's a photograph of Trump flushing papers down a Mar-a-Lago toilet, and I'm sitting there thinking to myself, are you people nuts? After years and years of Pissgate and the Steele dossier and things like that, you expect me to take such a fantastic claim seriously unless you actually divulge evidence? Well, I don't believe you, to be clear. And by the way, I proudly did not trust the legacy media or the bureaucracy long before Trump even ran for office. So I think that's one up for me. So again, link in the description. Watch the video there that Trump put out. Try to construe this as anything else but a campaign ad. There's no other way to explain it. They wouldn't have gone through the trouble of making a fairly sophisticated campaign ad unless there was going to be a campaign. I have a feeling there's a 99% chance that Donald Trump will be running. At this point, it no longer, I think, even necessarily matters whether he announces before or after the midterms. I would prefer it to be after, because the liberals will just say if he announces before the midterms, well, he's trying to prevent himself from being put in a jail cell, which would be very funny, and it wouldn't be true because he clearly intended to run anyway all this time, but they will chalk it up to that. Anyway, yes, it's time for MAGA again. Yes, you can ramble about all these other candidates that you want. If Trump does stand down and decides not to run, I'm sure that he will mint a successor, and that person will be the default, unless they totally suck. Unless he hires another Pompeo or Mattis sort of person for his runner-up position, in which case then we have to have a big discussion about the future trajectory of politics. Right now, though, there's nobody, as far as the slew of people who potentially will run, other than Pence, and even he's half walking it. There's nobody who's not defending Donald Trump at the moment. A private citizen is being harassed at taxpayer expense by the U.S. government under dubious and spurious circumstances over things that in some cases have been effectively debunked. The National Archives story is horseshit. We're not even 100% sure that's the only reason the FBI was there. I think it's a fishing expedition, and they probably wiretapped the entire Mar-a-Lago when they were there. Thankfully, it doesn't look like Trump's people were willing to turn off the security cameras, so hopefully they caught him in the act and put that out on Rumble or something like that. Wouldn't that be a sight to behold? I think that the Democrats may have overstretched pretty badly with this one, to tell the truth. That's about all. Peace out.